You can do some type of stretching and mobility work every day. That can be anything from some basic stretching to some more active and dynamic movements like you guys did in your warm-up today, to even taking yoga or Pilates. Both of those will address flexibility and mobility pretty well, and you can do that stuff fairly often. Strength work and explosiveness work is the stuff that you don't want to do every day. And with that stuff, more is not better. That will actually debilitate your body. So you want to be very strategic when you're trying to get stronger or even improve your conditioning and your explosiveness. But for the most part, foam rolling, Pilates and yoga, flexibility, mobility, that stuff can be done on a daily basis. But again, in appropriate doses. You don't need to take an hour yoga class 7 days a week. But doing a handful of, I guess you'd call stretches or active movements would be fine. From a quickness standpoint, it just depends on how much movement you're doing. I mean, the goal is to reduce impact as much as possible. So you guys want to be very prudent and not wear your bodies out by doing too much running. This week is a little bit different for you because this week the goal is to put you guys through a lot, is to really test your minds and your bodies to see how much you can do. But this is not a typical week. This is a very special week, an exclusive week, which is why you guys should be very thankful to be here. And I know all the coaches are really thankful and appreciative that you are here. But don't think that when you leave here, every single week of your training needs to be identical to what you're doing here. I mean, if you got up every night at midnight to flip tires on a football field, you'd be an idiot. I mean, you'd be an absolute idiot if you did that 365 days a year. Those things are to be done in small doses to kind of jumpstart and jolt you into something bigger and better. So when you leave here, there's going to have been a ton of volume throughout this week, but don't leave here thinking that more is better when it comes to the strength and conditioning and performance stuff, because more is not better. Better is better. So I'd rather each of you spend 30 minutes a day and make sure that every repetition that you do has perfect form, perfect technique, and is with 100% effort and focus than to kind of just jack around for 90 minutes a day doing this stuff. So back to the quickness. Are there some quickness things you can incorporate in safely and appropriately every day? Sure, but it's, may not be necessary. I'm also a big believer that whatever area you're trying to improve the most, for you, if it's flexibility and quickness, and maybe for you it's jumping, and maybe for you it's lateral movement, regardless of what area you want to be specific in, I still believe in training the entire body and the entire athlete together. So I would not recommend just doing quickness and flexibility drills. You still need to do strength work. You still need to do acceleration and deceleration and balance work and core work. All of that stuff built in to make yourself the complete athlete. And then if you want to do some extra work for a specific area of interest or an area that you feel needs to get better, that's fine. But don't neglect the other areas. The other thing I'll say is I would hope that, and I'm assuming if you're here, the goal is to be the best basketball player that you're capable of. If your goal is only to see how high you can jump or how fast you can run, that's fine. You can make improvements to that, but I don't see a tremendous amount of point in that. The point in going through the stuff that you go through this week is to help elevate yourself to be the best player that you're capable of. So remember, not only are we talking about performance work, you're talking about your skill work, you're talking about your mental toughness, talking about your basketball IQ. Do you understand how to play the game? Working on your motor and your heart, all of these different things. So it's not just this compartmentalized, I just want to jump higher. Whatever your numerical vertical jump is, I understand why that's important to you, because I was 14, 15, 16-year-old myself, and jumping high and dunking was extremely important to me. So I'm by no means saying that it shouldn't be important and that shouldn't be a goal. But as I got older, I realized what was most important was being an explosive basketball player, not being able to dunk a tennis ball or jump up and touch the backboard with two hands. Those are markers to help gauge your progress. And yes, they do make you feel cool and get excited that your training's working. So I don't ever want to diminish your dreams or your goals, but there is a huge difference between what the numeric value is of your vertical jump and whether or not you're an explosive basketball player. And for me, I would rather you guys be better basketball athletes than someone who can just score high on a test. That really doesn't mean a whole lot to me as a performance coach. And if your goal is to play basketball, first at the varsity level in high school, and then if you have the aspirations of playing in college, that's what's going to be most important. How high you can jump on a vertical jump test means nothing to anyone that knows what they're doing in the game of basketball. So I get that it's important to you, and I want to make sure that we as a staff and the whole EGT system helps you improve your explosiveness and your jumping, because I know that's important, but don't get it twisted. Everything else is equally important. Because no matter how athletic you get with this stuff, if you can't shoot, pass, rebound, defend, or handle the ball, you're not a very good basketball player, so it really doesn't matter. And if you can't do those things within the context of playing with 4 other players, or you don't know how to play the game, then you're going to be limited. So as much fun, as important as this stuff is, please don't take the other stuff for granted. Because in all reality, I have the humility to realize that the performance stuff is only the foundation. I mean, this stuff that I do, I spent my entire life working on this, is the smallest piece of the entire puzzle. It's an important piece without question. It's an invaluable piece, but it's the smallest piece. At the end of the day, if you can't shoot, pass, rebound, defend, or handle the ball with 4 other players, then you're not a very good basketball player, and it won't matter how good of an athlete you are. So just take that into context. Even if you're only going to do this stuff for 15 to 20 minutes a day most days of the week, and spend another 60 to 70 minutes working on your skill work, and then top that off with playing some 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 or 5-on-5 or whatever, that's how you build yourselves into being the best player you can be. Respectfully, that's just in your head. There's nothing that you're doing that's hindering your growth. Those things could literally just be a coincidence, because I'm highly doubting you're doing anything that's actually stunting your growth. I know everything that we've programmed through the EGT or EJT is 100% age appropriate and safe. So it might just be a coincidence that when you started that, for whatever reason, you just weren't growing a lot at the time. But I promise you, has nothing to do with stunning your growth. If anything, it'll help make your bone structures and your ligaments and your tendons and your joints and everything stronger. But growing is, I mean, your height is ultimately 99% your genetics, and the other 1% is making sure that you're eating well and you're getting enough sleep. But how tall you'll eventually be was pretty much predetermined at birth by your parents, and really doesn't have anything to do with this side of it. So I understand why that would alarm you, because everyone would like to be taller, especially if you're playing this game. But I'm willing to bet everything I have it was just an unfortunate coincidence. So continue to train hard and train smart, do things the right way. You don't need to be lifting or strength training anything that you can't lift at least 6 to 8 times. So if someone's having you do some really heavy stuff that you can only lift once or twice, you don't need to be doing that. But in all honesty, I don't even think that would stunt your growth. A lot of that, I believe, respectfully, is just rooted in some older myths, and that somewhere 30, 40 years ago, someone believed that would stunt growth, and it actually will not, I promise. I have really young children. I have 7-year-old twin sons, and I have a 5-year-old daughter. And when they're 8 or 9 years old, they'll start doing body weight strength work. And then once they have full command over their own body, I don't care how old they are, once they can control their own body with lunges and planks and push-ups and dips and pull-ups, then they'll be able to do some external resistance stuff too. And as you guys get older and you have your own children, you'll realize, I mean, you won't ever love another human being as much as you love your own children. So there's no way in a million years I would ever do anything with my own kids that I thought would cause them any harm. And trust me, by the time they're 8, 9, 10 years old, they'll already start on this type of stuff. So I wouldn't do it with them and recommend anything different for you. Whenever you're worn out, whenever you're physically and mentally worn out, whenever you look at going into the gym as a complete chore, that means your mind probably needs a day off to get refreshed. If your body is just completely worn out, I mean, the aches and pains, and that's the thing, I mean, nothing you guys do should ever be painful. Nothing should hurt. But a lot of what you do is going to be very, very uncomfortable. So part of it's getting to know your own body and getting to know yourself so you can figure out the difference between pain and discomfort. So I don't ever want you to do something that's painful. I want most of what you do to be uncomfortable. But you'll learn your body as you get older. You know, for me now, at 41, and I've been training longer than most of you guys have been alive, I know when I need an extra day off. And the thing to remember is we get caught up in this mindset that more is better, and that if you take a day off, you know, you're weak or you're a wuss, and it's simply not true. The key is to train smart, and it's not just trying to train harder than the guy that you're going to play against this season. It's trying to train smarter than him. And if he's going to train 7 days a week and go balls out and be a nut job about it, you'll actually be much smarter by taking days off when you need them. So I'm a big believer, and it doesn't mean that every single day is roses and puppy dogs and ice cream, and it's every day you're just skipping to the gym with a smile on your face. There are plenty of times that you need to get in the gym and just put in work. Because if you only work on the days where you absolutely feel wonderful, you'll never get better. I mean, I don't know how many days your mind and your body and your spirit feel 100% wonderful at all. It's not going to be very many, but you need to decide when to push through. And I know from a mental standpoint, if it's an absolute chore to go into the gym, take an extra day off. If something's really sore on your body and you've done some stretching and some ice baths and you've done foam rolling and those techniques and something's really sore, take another day or two off. If it's still sore after that, then make sure you visit a medical professional or someone that can help you with that. So the goal is not to burn you guys out by any means. If you're only 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, I mean, you have your entire lives ahead of you. So you want to be very prudent in working out as smart as possible. And this blood and guts routine and this there is no days off and there is no off season, they make for cool slogans on t-shirts, but it's simply not true.